Advanced Takedown Tree Stands presents The Hunting Grounds. Also brought to you by Eagle Seed, 4-Wheel Concept, Nose Jammer, Dirt Nap Gear, Spypoint, Bowtech, Cross Country Camo, Hook Line Sinker Outdoors, Shaybug Designs, Tradition Game Calls, Giotto Gear, Popeyes of Northwest Arkansas, Turkey Fan.
Well, welcome back to another episode of The Hunting Grounds. I hope you guys have been as busy as we've been, planting food plots, preparing food plots, chasing turkeys, and that's exactly what we've been busy doing. We planted our clover and chicory food plots. We've gone ahead and started to plant or have planted most of our Eagle Seed soybean food plots, and we've been chasing turkeys every chance that we can get. Arkansas season just ended this Sunday, and I was blessed enough to take Aaron Newman on his first ever turkey hunt about a week ago on a Sunday. We only had the afternoon to hunt, and our odds are kind of against us when you're doing that in Arkansas, chasing these birds that are fewer in numbers, and they're a little bit smarter, and we've only got the afternoon to do it, but we had a great time. Got to see some beautiful land, and I know that he had a blast, and I know he's going to be hooked come the next turkey season. Also this past weekend, which is the last weekend of turkey season in Arkansas, I was able to get out with John Janes and his son Colton out in north central Arkansas on a turkey hunt. Also brought out Cody Doyle and my dad, and we all just got together and had a blast. Dad did a lot of metal detecting and fishing throughout the day, so did John, and they had a good time doing that. Where I took Colton on his first ever turkey hunt for 2 days, and we got close, but man, those birds were hard to hunt. They've been gobbling for weeks, and they had kind of shut down where you could gobble on the roost for a little bit, and they might gobble a little bit on the ground, but then they were done the rest of the day and wanted nothing to do with anybody. Cody ended up taking a couple of shots and he missed, but that's not what it's all about. We were out there to have a good time. We all got to become good friends because nobody knew each other there besides me. I was the one that knew everybody, and before we left we were all good friends and planned to do a lot of stuff in the upcoming future. But let's go ahead and get into this week's episode as you go with me to Kansas on one of my hardest turkey hunts ever. I know that going into it. I've got 1 day to get it done. We've got showers expected, or thunderstorms you might say, at the beginning of the day, and I know it's going to be tough to do, and normally I film 99.9% of the show by myself, but I know I'm going to have to reach out to somebody because just carrying the camera in hand, the gun, getting wet, and everything else is not going to work out. So I put it out on Facebook, had a lot of people talk to me on there wanting to go, ended up getting Dre Meisenheimer, one of my old students, to go with me, and we're going to see if we can get it done. Dre and I, we are headed out to what we call the 360. It has been thunderstorming hardcore here this morning, so we decided to kind of sleep in a little bit because it was thundering and lightning, and we're hoping the turkeys aren't out here floating around. That's how much it's rained, but we're on our way there. Got a couple miles to go. Hopefully we can find a tom. We've seen one tom cross the road already. It doesn't look like the rain's going to let up, but we'll toughen it out. Threw out a crow call, had a gobble right off the bat somewhere out here. It's just difficult because we're out here, it's raining, we have so much rain that there's a lot of water flowing, and you hear rushing water and the rain, and trying to hear a tom over the top of that, it's pretty difficult. But we know we've got him out here. Sounds like a single gobbler right now. We're just gonna keep sneaking up and see if we can find him. So even with all the storms and nasty weather, we managed to sneak up on a few birds. They wanted nothing to do with nobody. They were wet, they weren't with hens, they weren't talking, they didn't care, and we had a rough go at it. So we ended up taking a break, running into town, got a bite for breakfast, and we went and checked out this other piece of property. Wouldn't you know, we didn't see any birds as we drove past it, decided to drive in, and as we drove in and parked, a big old tom and a hen popped out of the brush beside us and started skirting down the field. We decided to sit in the truck until they got far enough away and were comfortable with the truck there. Turned it off, we slipped out, and we were going to slip down the creek, which normally would be a pretty easy stalk, but with all the rain that morning, all the creeks were flooded and it was going to be a muddy mess to get up on that bird. Yeah, you did fall. So we ended up sneaking within 100 yards of that big old Tom, and he was cutting me off every time I called. And just as things were getting perfect, we got the cameras rolling, he's coming in, he's getting away from that hen. I hear the brakes of vehicles slam on the road ahead of us, and I look across the long field, and wouldn't you know it, a Jake is making his way across, and he takes up flying, and I guess he sees those turkeys, flies over them, and they think something has gone terribly wrong, and they take off, and not only do they just leave the field, they left the whole property completely. So that left one play in our book, and that was to go back to the property that we had started on that morning. I knew if there was going to be somewhere to get it done, it was going to be there, and it was going to be last minute. We got there, saw some birds, tried to make a play on them. They didn't want anything to do with us again. I knew where those birds were going to roost, and so we ended up kind of taking a break because Dre had never found any morels, so we ended up doing some morel hunting, found 20 or 30 morels, and he was pretty pumped about that, so he could take them home and cook them up. Well, that evening we decided to get up on the pond dam because I knew those birds were going to skirt across there, and Drake kept asking me, are you 100% sure that there's going to be birds that come across here? And I said, yes, birds. I said, we might get the hens for sure. I don't know if there's going to be Tom in here or not. It's hit or miss every single night. So we are giving it the Hail Mary right now. Been chasing birds all day. It's just been rough. This morning it was rough with big storms, and then turkeys just haven't wanted to talk today, and they really haven't broke up their hens. I don't know if they were just with the hens for so long in the morning or didn't get off the roost late because of the big storms, and they just kind of stuck with them all day. But we know a bunch of hens coming here at roost. Oftentimes a big old Tom's going to follow them in, and instead of setting up on the other side where they're not going to roost and try to pull them in or set up right underneath their roost, we're kind of on this lake dam here to see if we can get close enough. So we're gonna have to be really still, really quiet, and hope for the best. We'll see what happens. We're tired, exhausted, stinky, wet, and tired again. So we'll see what happens. So wouldn't you know it, the hens show up at the corner of the field, and they are showing up late, probably because they got a late start because of all the storms. The hens started hanging up there, saw a Jake, and you know what, that Jake saw our decoy, and of course he came down and started doing his thing with our decoys that were past us, and we were just hoping a big old Tom would step out. So at this point I'm pretty frustrated because we are on the pond dam. I am soaked still. I'm on a wet hillside and I keep sliding. I've literally slid a hole so wide that I have sunk down in it, and I've got a blind set up in front of me, and now I'm to the point where I can barely see over if I just peek. And wouldn't you know it, Jay goes, there's the Toms. So the Toms kept putting on a show up on the hillside while the Jake put on a show within shooting distance. Well, a trophy is a trophy is a trophy, and for Dre to be on his first ever turkey hunt, to be filming me, having this much excitement, if I can finish this hunt with a kill, that's just going to top it off for him, and I am more than happy to take that Jake. So I tell Dre starts shifting that camera over to the Jake, not letting him know I'm going to shoot it, but about that time I look up and here come the Toms. My heart is beating so fast at this moment, and I know Dre's is because he's trying to get on these Toms. He's following them across the field, and we're going back and forth. Can he shoot? Can he not shoot? Can I shoot? Can I not shoot? Back and forth, and then we finally get it where I can shoot, and then he comes back with a no, 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 no. And it focused real quick on like a flower or a berry or something because he's on the automatic focus. Once he got that ready, we were ready to rock and roll. But that tom just dropped, and I couldn't be more excited to get my first turkey of the season, to have Dre behind the camera, and to be in the exact same spot where last year I missed a big old light tip tom, and wouldn't you know it, this might even be the same bird. I ended up walking out there to pick up that tom and started walking back and quickly realized I was a long ways off. So I took a few steps back to where that tom was shot and counted off the steps, 64-yard shot, and he did not move. But I couldn't be any more blessed because he was a big old tom. His beard was 9.5 inches. He had spurs that were over an inch, and Dre got to get it all on film, and that's what it's all about. I am so blessed to be able to bring this show to you guys almost every single week, and not only have the opportunity to meet a lot of you, but to hunt with a lot of you, and that excites me. And I am blessed to have you guys in my life and to experience all that I do, and hopefully get to pass on that experience to you guys. But I can't say enough about our sponsors and about everybody out there that supports us. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode, but I'll tell you, birds are dropping for the THG team everywhere. But you guys need to keep up with that on our social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, because we're getting that footage as fast as we can, producing it and putting it out semi-live to you guys here. But to keep up with the real-time action, keep up on our social media pages. Until next time, go out of your way to get a youth or new hunter involved in the outdoors, and as always, have a better than average day.